We all have questions about Grogu. What if I told you his whole journey isn't just about picking between being a Jedi or a Mandalorian? What if the path he's on is leading to something totally new, something the Star Wars galaxy has never really seen before? We've seen him do some incredible things, heal wounds that should have been fatal, choke out his enemies, and even calm a giant Rancor. But what do these moments really tell us about where he's headed? If we look at every single one of Grogu's canon Force abilities, we can actually build a timeline of his power. And that timeline points to a future that might just change everything we think we know about the Force. This isn't just about how strong he's going to get. This is about what he's going to become. And I'm pretty sure the answer is going to shock you. First of all, we should start by saying that when we first met Grogu, he was a total mystery. A 50-year-old baby with this immense power he could barely control. His first few uses of the Force weren't thought out or precise. They were just raw, emotional bursts, almost always driven by pure survival. The most famous example, of course, is the Mudhorn. When Din Djarin was about to get totally skewered, Grogu didn't weigh his options. He just acted, out of this pure, desperate need to protect his dad, lifting a creature many, many times his size right into the air. The effort completely knocked him out, which showed us the baseline. The power inside him was incredible, but he had zero control, and the physical cost was huge. This emotional side also had a much darker edge. Remember when he force-choked Cara Dune? He wasn't trying to be evil. He just saw her arm wrestling with Din, thought his father was in real danger, and reacted with lethal force. Later, after Moff Gideon got his hands on him, we saw him unleash his rage on a couple of stormtroopers, tossing them around his cell before choking them both out, only stopping because he was exhausted again. These moments weren't just for shock value, they were a serious warning. They showed us that Grogu's power, without any discipline, was dangerously tied to his fear and his attachments. He was basically a powder keg of Force energy, and his love for Din was the spark. Without training, that path could have easily led him somewhere very, very dark. It sets up the biggest conflict for his character. His incredible power is fueled by his intense emotional bonds, the very thing the old Jedi Order was so afraid of. But Grogu didn't stay a creature of pure instinct. Across the seasons, we've gotten to see this slow but steady evolution, from raw, emotional outbursts to intentional, skilled uses of the Force. The biggest jump was definitely in his defensive powers. Back in the Season 1 finale, he instinctively threw up a Force barrier to block an incinerator trooper's fire. It saved his friends, but again, he ended up totally exhausted. Now compare that to Season 3. He consciously creates a massive Force shield to protect himself, Din, and Bo-Katan from the full blast of a starship explosion. The power was way bigger, but more importantly, it was a deliberate, controlled act. He held that barrier, shielded 3 people from a catastrophic blast, and was still standing afterward. The cost wasn't knocking him out anymore. We see this growing precision in other places too. His telekinesis, which he once only used for lifting giant beasts or his favorite silver knob, got way more refined. He started using it for smaller things, like cheating at that game on Navarro by moving the pieces around, or later, doing these amazing acrobatic flips to dodge the Praetorian Guards. Each one of those flips was a little microburst of the Force, a precise use of power for a specific goal. And then there's Force healing. When Grogu healed Greef Karga's fatal wound, it was a huge moment. This is a super rare ability in canon, one that points to a deep, compassionate connection to the light side. It showed us that his default setting isn't just to lash out and protect, but to restore and to heal. It was the clearest sign yet that underneath all that fear and raw power was a being with profound empathy. This whole evolution, from brute strength to controlled defense and compassionate healing, proves Grogu isn't just getting stronger, he's getting smarter. He is learning, with or without a teacher, how to use the Force with real purpose. We've talked about his most explosive moments and his most compassionate ones, but what's your favorite display of Grogu's power? Was it the raw, untamed strength of the Mudhorn lift? Or the quiet, focused control of his healing? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to see which moments resonated the most with you all. Beyond the big, flashy displays of power, Grogu has a few more subtle abilities that people sometimes forget about. But they might just be the biggest clues to his ultimate destiny. First, his telepathic communication. He was able to share his entire backstory with Ahsoka Tano without saying a word. It was a nonverbal transfer of memories and feelings, so clear that she learned his name and his entire past at the Jedi Temple from it. This shows a potential for connection that goes way beyond words. It's a deep, empathetic bond that allows him to be truly understood. Then there's his affinity for beasts. We all remember the memes, but him calming that huge Rancor in Mos Espa was an incredible feat of Force empathy. He didn't try to dominate the beast. He soothed its rage and literally put it to sleep. This skill was hinted at early on, but his moment with the Mythosaur in the living waters of Mandalore took it to a legendary level. Now, to be clear, he didn't tame it, but when Din Djarin fell into the water, Grogu saw it down there, and the ancient beast opened its eye. This has led to some massive fan theories, with some people thinking he could be the one to fulfill the old prophecy of riding the Mythosaur, bringing in a new age for Mandalore. Finally, there's his Force-enhanced agility. During that fight with the Praetorian Guards, Grogu wasn't just doing flips. He was using the Force to boost his reflexes and move in ways that made his tiny size a huge advantage. He was a blur of motion, a tiny, almost untouchable target. This points to a future fighting style that wouldn't be about raw power, but about speed, evasion, and acrobatic precision, a style that would be completely unique to him. When you put all these subtle powers together, they paint a picture of a Force wielder who is deeply connected, empathetic, and agile. He's not just a powerhouse. He's becoming a master of the unseen side of the Force. So this is where the timeline seems to be leading. All the evidence, his raw power, his growing control, his unique abilities, and his core identity, points to one pretty shocking conclusion. It seems Grogu won't just become a traditional Jedi, and he won't just be a Mandalorian. He is on the path to becoming a true hybrid, a new kind of Force wielder the galaxy has never really seen. Now, before you say it, I know about Tara Vizsla, the ancient Mandalorian who became a Jedi and created the Darksaber. So Grogu wouldn't be the first. But what Grogu could become is something different, something that blends the two philosophies in a way that maybe even Tara Vizsla didn't. Think about it. He chose the Beskar armor over the lightsaber. He chose his father, Din Djarin, over his potential master, Luke Skywalker. His identity is being forged in Mandalorian culture, in the creed, and in the bond of his clan of two. And as we saw in the Season 3 finale, Din officially adopted Grogu and declared him his apprentice. But you can't just turn off the Force. His time with Luke and his early years at the Jedi Temple gave him a foundation that can't just be erased. So what does this hybrid look like? Well, it's a warrior who could blend Mandalorian gadgets with the Force. Imagine Grogu using telekinesis to guide his whistling birds around corners, or throwing up a Force barrier to shield his fellow Mandalorians in a firefight. It's also possible this path will unlock new powers. A lot of theories suggest the most logical next step would be Force prescience, the ability to sense danger before it happens. For a character who's always on the run, that's a critical survival tool. But the most shocking potential is in the fusion of their beliefs. The old Jedi Order taught that attachment was dangerous, but Mandalorians are defined by their loyalty and attachments. Grogu is living proof that maybe these two ideas don't have to be enemies. His power comes from his love for Din. That attachment is what fuels his desire to protect and to heal. He's not breaking the rules of the Force, but he is challenging the old Jedi dogma, showing that emotion doesn't just have to be a path to the dark side. It can be a source of incredible light when it's anchored by love and loyalty. He wouldn't be a Jedi struggling with attachment, but a Mandalorian empowered by it through the Force. So as it stands now, we've traced Grogu's journey from a scared little infant with uncontrollable power to a disciplined apprentice on a completely unique path. He's shown us incredibly rare abilities like Force healing and a deep connection to the living Force. And every step he's taken seems to be leading him away from the traditional paths of both the Jedi and the Mandalorians. His final power level isn't going to be a number, it's an idea. Grogu represents a synthesis, a new way forward. He's becoming the living embodiment of a balanced warrior. One who embraces both the spiritual power of the Force and the cultural identity of a Mandalorian. His ultimate power won't just be about lifting starships. It will be his ability to prove that you don't have to choose between who you are and what you can do. He is Din Grogu, Mandalorian apprentice and Jedi-trained Force wielder. He's something new, and his journey is poised to change the Force forever. So, as we look to the future, the big question is this. What specific hybrid ability do you think we'll see him master first? A Force-infused rocket punch, or maybe using telekinesis to pilot the N1 from the outside? Let the theories fly in the comments below.